We're live. All right. Hello. Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to a Mother's Heart podcast. This is a podcast that I started on behalf of my late son, Jimmy Ray Mitchell. It's a podcast that I wanted to start so we could discuss matters of the heart. And when dealing with matters of the heart, especially when losing a son or a family member, you need healing. So this is a place where we can talk about healing, all grief matters, and just a safe place. So without further ado, I'm so excited and nervous at the same time. I have Miss Dr. Tonya Cunningham, everyone. She is my personal grief counselor, grief doc. Let me see, I have all kinds of things written about her. Dr.
Hey,
Cunningham, I'm gonna let you just.
I was going to say, you just come from the heart.
Yeah, let me look.
We
'Cause
have those
I'm
written
nervous. I'm
bios,
nervous. I
but
know.
you know me. So, yeah, that whatever you want to say from your heart is perfectly fine with me.
Okay, she is just. You have been my saving grace.
Oh,
Oh,
we're not
one of
supposed to
my
start out like
clients,
that.
like literally, like I remember one of my clients telling me about you, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called you and I made the appointment, and like you said, when I first came, I was kind of sitting on the couch, like with my arms crossed, like,
Yes, you were.
because you're so wounded after something like that. You're
That's
just
right.
like, what can this person possibly tell me? But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I've been seeing you now for about what? It's been
Three,
three
three
years
years.
now.
Mm-hmm.
So I just give thanks and grace and prayers to you.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Let me
Yes.
just say that I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
Honored to be here with you. And I don't know if you recall in the very, very beginning when you started coming for grief counseling, I was
Hmm.
sharing with you, I said, if you do the work to heal,
Hmm.
so much good is going to come out of this pain. And
Yes.
so when you told me in the beginning, well, not the beginning, it was after
Hmm.
we kind of started working together. And you said, well, I think one of the things I want to do is start a podcast. And
Hmm.
look, this is where you are.
I know. I'm so
Yes,
excited.
yes. So
Yeah.
thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to bring it to life because I struggle with that. Again,
Hmm.
I am shy.
Do y'all believe she's shy?
I am, and this is really stepping out the box. It's personal.
Yes,
So you're putting yourself out there. You're
it's
giving your
true.
story, and I'm still healing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still on
Mm-hmm.
my healing journey. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a process. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
happy to be here. Happy to have you.
Okay.
So I have some questions for you.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, let's get into it. So, what inspired you to start helping people through grief?
Well, it's twofold. My response is twofold to that. One is I just absolutely hate to see people hurt,
Okay.
especially needlessly when it comes to grief.
Yes.
So that's my first response. And my second one will be to bring awareness
Hmm.
to this. What some used to say prior to the pandemic, they call it a unknown phenomenon. The pandemic came and kind of changed our world, and
Yes.
it forced us as a human race to deal with our grief. And so I want to bring awareness, and that really inspires me. Just like what you shared about your story
Right.
briefly about coming and working with me, and how you said that I have helped you in that space.
You
So
have.
that's what continues to inspire me
Yes.
to help hurting people.
Help hurting people. Awesome. I can definitely attest to that.
Hmm.
Okay. Second question. When you look back over your career, what moments remind you why you do this work?
Man, it's so many. Even just what you just said. Again, I repeat that. But just within the last 3 days, I was just sharing you before we went live. I was with another client supporting her in a
Hmm.
courtroom because of her son
Hmm.
was his life was taken by someone, and we had to go to court. It's been 3 years.
Hmm.
And afterwards, she was introducing me to her tribe, to her support system,
Hmm.
and all of them actually knew me. As I was walking up, they knew me, and I'm like, okay, I don't know all these people. Is because she's talked about me to them.
Yes.
And afterwards, she was saying, this is the lady I've been telling you all that's been my lifeline. I could not have made it without her.
I'm telling
That
you.
that blesses me, and that really helps me remember this is why I do this.
Hmm.
And then yesterday, I went to support a colleague of mine in the clinical field, her sister had a baby, and we're connected in a special way. And but the sister has a 9-year-old,
Mhm.
and the mother said, my 9-year-old read your children's book about grief. She
Mhm.
said, do you have any with you? I'm like, I didn't bring any with me. She said,
Mhm.
well, my 9-year-old wants to meet you because she had a baby prior to the 9-year-old,
Mhm.
and the baby died.
Oh
Her
wow.
daughter, I think it's a girl, but the baby died, and so her 9-year-old didn't get to meet
Mhm.
her older sibling, and she had grief about that. So she read my book and
Mhm.
said the book helped her. And so the 9-year-old came and introduced herself to me, and she said, "Man, I've been waiting to meet you." And she said, "Today my dream came true."
Oh my
And
goodness.
you're
Look
my
at
favorite author. I'm like, oh, this is why I
all right,
do.
Shiro.
Yeah. So
I
this
love
is
that.
why I do what I do when I get to see the fruit of my
Yeah,
labor.
that's
Like
beautiful.
your fruit
That's
sitting up here.
beautiful. That is absolutely my
Mm-hmm.
God, because I was a broken soul,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when you lose a child, it's I can't even put it into words.
Absolutely.
I can't even put it into
Absolutely. There are
words.
no words for that. Like if it's a spouse that dies, you're a
Mhm.
widow or widower, but what's the name of that when you have a child to die? It's
Mhm.
just like you're a
Mhm.
bereaved parent or a grieved
Right.
parent.
Do you think because I've experienced this too, like when someone's, lost a child and they're just trying to make it through,
Mm-hmm.
like just day to day, like
Mm-hmm.
what is your advice or your counsel to them? Like what's the first step?
The first step, really, it sounds simple, but believe it or not, a lot of people don't do it, is acknowledge where you are.
Okay.
Acknowledge your grief, because many of us don't even want to say I'm in
Mhm.
grief or
Mhm.
this hurts,
Mhm.
or we try to keep busy. So that's my recommendation for everybody who's in grief, especially if it's a child loss. Just
Mhm.
acknowledge this is where you are.
So the first step you would say is acknowledge.
Acknowledge it.
Okay.
Acknowledge it, because some people suppress their hurt and pain,
Yes,
and it's like, one of the biggest mistakes, I believe, and my observation and my experience in education, is that many people try to go back to life like it used to be.
I did that.
Yeah. See, we got a
Crash and
witness right over
burn.
here.
Crash and
Yeah,
burn.
you crash
Yes.
and burn, so you can't.
Mhm.
So that's why that acknowledgement, man, this hurts. Man, I'm angry. So
Mhm.
just acknowledge where you are. That would be the first thing that I encourage people to do.
And then secondly.
And then secondly, if you need help,
Mhm.
get it. If you need help, get it. Don't be afraid to do so.
Mhm.
And then if a third one would be, when you want to get help, then you got to be vulnerable.
I was gonna say, because I feel like, especially in the Black community,
Yes.
if you get counseling or seek therapy, you're
Absolutely.
deemed as crazy, or there's
Mhm.
a weakness there.
Absolutely.
What would you tell the audience and everyone
Yes,
about that?
because grief is a subject that is uh, heavily influenced by our culture,
Mm-hmm.
heavily influenced. And so once you're able to get to that space to remove that belief that is not true,
Mm-hmm.
and just allow yourself to be vulnerable. Is it scary? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I was meeting with another person for the very first time this week, and they didn't fill out my intake form. And I
Mm-mm.
sometimes people forget, and I
Mm.
ask, did you get a chance to fill out the intake form? And they're of the Hispanic culture, and their culture is
Oh,
similar to the Black culture.
yeah.
We're not going to tell anybody anything. And they said, hey, I've never done this before. Why do you need to know all those questions? That's what they asked. And I said, I'm so glad that you asked me that. No one has ever asked me that. It's
Mm-hmm.
just to gain a picture of your experience.
Right.
So I think, again, the reason why a lot of people don't go to get help like that is it can be definitely influenced by our culture. So my recommendation is just to
Mm-hmm.
be open
Mm-hmm.
and to get help.
Okay. And what if you find someone or a counselor that you feel like you don't gel or connect with?
Hmm.
Like, what is a good way? Because I've had that happen,
Yes.
prior, whatnot. So,
Yes.
and you just like, no, this is not it. How do
Hmm.
you respectfully say
Hmm.
this is not working? Or do you just like, because I think too, that also makes people like, well, I'm not even going to go.
It doesn't work.
Right.
That's right.
So how would
That's
you?
right. You have to look at counseling and therapy just like, um, I like hair. Can you tell? I don't wear hats.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to the hair salon every Friday without
Look,
fail.
I'm a
That's
hairstylist.
and if you see, you already know your hairstyle, so you get it,
I
right?
do. Mm-hmm.
If my hairstylist was in Dallas, I live in Fort Worth,
Mm-hmm.
I would drive to Dallas faithfully.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that she doesn't provide the service that I need, I'm going to change to someone else. Same thing as a mechanic, a doctor, whatever. You need to do that same thing with your counselor. You want to vet them out,
Mm-hmm.
ask them questions and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you have to gel with them. And you'll know it in the beginning. There has to be a connection. If you don't feel it in the first section session, go back to the next one.
Okay.
And then when you don't, you just share with them, say, thank you so much for your time. I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me. Or if you don't want to say anything, just don't book another appointment with them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but keep going until you find that person. This is where a lot of us stop, especially in the minority community.
Mm-hmm.
I said, have you had counseling or therapy? Yeah. How many sessions? Two. I said, two is not going to get it. Well, I tried and I went to two different therapists and it didn't work. So will you keep going until you
Mm-hmm.
find that person?
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
That is so true. Awesome. Also, another thing I wanted to talk about. What about even taking something like a medication for
Mm-hmm.
anxiety while you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with your grief,
Mm-hmm.
just to help you focus, or just do
Yeah.
you how do you feel about that?
I'm an advocate for what we need. We need to do it.
Hmm.
So that means, yes, some of us do need medication. I
Hmm.
personally had to take it for a while as
Hmm.
well, years ago when I was going through my grief process.
Hmm.
So, because some of us need that medication because our body physically is out of balance.
Is it the nervous system?
It's
Would you
the
say?
nervous system, it's our hormones, or we
Hmm.
call them chemicals,
Hmm.
same thing. Hormones like cortisol, norepinephrine, adrenaline,
Hmm.
all of those are out of balance when you're in grief.
Hmm.
And a lot of times we need medication to help bring those things back into balance. But what I do say, if you're going to take medication as well as any other type of supplement or herbal
Hmm.
thing,
Hmm.
you want to be your own advocate. Pay attention to how it makes you feel,
Hmm.
be consistent with it. But I am an advocate for medication. If you can
Yes.
take it, if you need to take it, take it. If you're
Hmm.
going to take something natural, then be
Hmm.
consistent with
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does, because I remember having panic attacks
Mm-hmm.
initially when it happened, and I don't think I ever shared this, but I
Wow.
did,
Mm-hmm.
and I have another counselor I told you that I see that I've
That's
been
right.
seeing for a while, and I remember telling her that, and I was just trying to be strong and handle everything on my own,
Yep.
and she's like, "Is that working for you?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
No.
"No, it's not." And she's like, "It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you crazy,
Mm-hmm.
and just take something to help you sleep," because I wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
And when you don't sleep, you're
Mm-hmm.
mentally like you can't even function,
That's right.
and I felt like I was also in flight or fight mode,
That's
like
right.
in that survival mode.
Yes.
So just for a little while, just taking something to help me sleep and just kind of bring my mental to a better, calmer place totally helped. So
Absolutely. Thank you for your vulnerability and even sharing that, because a lot of people, I've learned that many of us really don't even know that we're experiencing anxiety or a panic attack or even depression. It's like,
oh, it
oh, is
was
that what
bad.
that is?
It was bad.
Absolutely.
I literally felt like I was in the shower and someone was like, I couldn't breathe.
Hmm. That's exactly what that was. So, what the medication does, because it was one client I had a while ago, years ago, and I recommended medication
Hmm.
for her, and she took it, and she came back maybe about a month later. She said, I've been taking it for 4 weeks, and
Hmm.
the grief is still there. She taught me something new. I said, thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
The medication doesn't take the grief away,
No,
it
it doesn't.
helps you to deal with it. It
Hmm.
brings your body back into balance. And something else I wanted to point out that you shared is that she said, I have a counselor, another counselor, and she does.
Hmm.
But then she got me as well as an addition to that
Yes.
because I specialize in grief.
Right.
Yes. So that's when it's okay to have more than one counselor at a
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
because another one may specialize in a particular area.
Absolutely.
So that was good that you sought out, the help that you needed. You have this to deal with your regular things and life concerns and
Hmm.
challenges, but then you heard about grief, heard about me,
I
and
did.
then you came and you got help specifically for that area.
I did,
So good for
because
you.
thank you. I felt like, again, I was hit with so much,
Hmm.
and you just like, what do I do with this?
Right.
So I know I needed a special person, a special,
Mm-hmm.
to help me manage. So I just, again, I thank you so much. And it's truly been an honor and blessing.
Awesome.
So let's go back to, do we have any questions so far? I see we got, no questions. It's nice to join, just people joining in. Okay. All right. Well, we'll do a few more questions and then we'll take a little break. Okay.
Okay.
All right. You good, Doc? You
I'm
good?
good.
Okay.
Let's
Let's
go.
get to it. Okay. What's something people misunderstand about grief? Um, in that sense, like, because again, I even had someone say to me, I think it had almost been a year. They're like, you're still crying, you're still,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Exactly.
I lost my whole son. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't stump my toe, I didn't break my leg. Like,
That's right.
he's never coming back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how would you?
You basically just answered again. One of the things that people misunderstand it is they think that there's a timetable for it.
There you go.
Yeah. You should be over that. It's been a year,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Life moves on.
Hmm.
When in reality, what I've taught you is that grief never ends. It never ends. But what does end is the pain of it as you
Hmm.
work through it, the pain of grief, because grief is a internal
Hmm.
emotional response that absolutely everybody experiences. So
Hmm.
it'll always be there.
Hmm.
But a misunderstanding that a lot of people have is that it's a timetable
Okay.
or an expiration date.
Hmm.
And then another thing that they think about and think it's true is that you get over grief. You never get over it, but you adjust to it
Hmm.
because you learn to live with it.
Yes.
And as you do the work uh, of processing your grief, the pain will lessen
Hmm.
and you can continue to live with that grief. A great example I have real quickly
Hmm.
is my mom died in 2006.
Hmm.
And so my sisters and I, we go to the cemetery every Mother's Day to put out flowers. Last year was raining on Mother's Day. And our ritual is now, because we've done the work to heal from
Hmm.
the pain of her not being here. So now we go out there, we buy the flowers, we have chairs and we sit out and we laugh and we talk and we tell stories about mom. Well, it was raining last year and we couldn't do that. So we rushed out to put the flowers on, got back in the car. And as I was pulling out of the cemetery, tears started rolling down my face. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on? Me, the grief doc. I'm like, what is this? And I had to think about it. It was a dreary day. So our environment can impact our grief. It was a
Hmm.
dreary day. It was raining. And we didn't get to do what we normally do, which is sit outside, talk about it. And so in that moment, my grief was expressed. And she died in
Hmm.
2006. So I
Hmm.
let the tears fall, acknowledged that I really missed her,
Yes.
and then the pain left.
And then you could just
Yeah.
go
And then you
on.
just go on.
And it's nothing wrong with
And
that.
that was not a setback, because some people
Right.
say, oh, I had a setback. I'm like, what happened? I
Hmm.
cried. I'm
Hmm.
like, that's not a setback.
Hmm.
That's a part of the process.
Right, because you can be triggered, if you will,
Yes.
by a song, like you said, the
Mm-hmm.
weather, a
Mm-hmm.
smell,
Smell. Mm-hmm.
even sometimes being around for me, my granddaughters,
Yes.
and my son not being here and he's missing the birthdays and the
That's right.
this, the that, it's holiday time,
That's right.
and sometimes I just find myself tearing up,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I let the tears fall, and
Very good, because what that is what I call liquid love.
hmm I
Queen
like it.
Elizabeth said, grief is the price that we pay for love.
Hmm.
So that means if we love someone deeply, when they're gone, we're going to grieve them deeply.
Mm.
Yeah. So that your tears, and that's going to happen as those children, your grandchildren grow up, all of the milestones that they have, graduating from high school, getting married, having babies, all of that. You
Yes,
you probably experience some grief because your
yes.
son is not here to see it.
Yeah, and they look so much like him. It looks like we have a question.
Okay.
All right, Miss Paulette Griffin. Hello, thank
Hi,
you for
Paulette.
joining us. She says, "Hello. Any holiday specific tools recommended? The whole season doesn't always seem jolly. Even remember the reason for the season. I just did a post about that. But
Really,
uh-huh.
absolutely. That you just said it, Paulette. The holidays are not so happy a lot of times when people are in grief.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to what I mentioned earlier, just acknowledge where you are
Mm-hmm.
in that space, and you be the one to facilitate the holiday tips, meaning you can let your family and friends know, I am coming to the family function, or I'm not going to be able to come to the party. My recommendation is, if you do go out, drive your own car, go late, leave early, and that way you won't find yourself in a space, because a lot of times grief will definitely pop up when you're not expecting it, and then if you're riding with someone, you don't have a way to get back home. But with the holidays, you do what works for you. If it means doing something different, then you want to
Mm-hmm.
do that. Some people want to scale back. You
Mm-hmm.
can scale back. You don't have to decorate. You don't have to cook. Basically, Paulette, you want to do what works for you. And it
Mm-hmm.
depends upon if it's new and fresh. If you are open to sharing that, you can definitely put it in the comments, Paulette, how
Mm-hmm.
long it's been since your loss took place. If it's within the first year or two, it may be new or fresh, so you
Mm-hmm.
can just find what makes you feel comfortable in that space.
She said, "Okay, that sounds good. Thank you."
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Yeah, I would say I remember the first holidays were just very,
Hmm.
gloomy. I remember going to my nephew's birthday party
Hmm.
and just watching him and the tears, and I just, excuse myself.
There you go.
But my rule of thumb anyway, because when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. Let me just put that out there. Listen, I need my own car, my own key. Listen, no, I'm just being silly.
Ah, that is
Make a
funny.
little laugh, but yeah, and
Hmm.
yeah, and not feel bad about it. I,
Hmm.
I like that. All right, let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Let's see. God, did we do four? Did we start?
Hmm.
We did four. Okay,
We
so
did that one.
okay, so we're on five. Okay. How has working with so many families shaped the way you see life?
It really helps me in having a greater appreciation for life, even in my own journey, going through this process, but working with families, listening to their stories, it really helps me to experience life differently,
Mm-hmm.
and to want to maintain the healing and the freedom that I have
Mm-hmm.
in my own journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to take nuggets from each person that I work with, and just observing their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really causes me to see life differently through different lens.
Like that.
Hmm.
Okay. Number six. Why do you think we shy away from talking about our grief, even though it touches everyone?
Hmm. Kind of like what we touched on
Earlier.
earlier, because of that vulnerability piece.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can't tell you the countless times that people will come and they'll sit on my couch, and they'll start talking, and they'll say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, I can't believe I'm getting ready to cry." I'm like, "This is the place to do that." But being vulnerable in that space to be able to do it, most people are not comfortable.
Why?
Uh, I think what I have seen,
Mm-hmm.
not just I think, but what I've observed,
Mm-hmm.
that cultural influence
Mm-hmm.
and what we're taught.
Mm-hmm.
One story I always share with that is from the Hispanic culture, and I was teaching mortuary school at the particular time, and it was a 40-year-old. He was 40 years old at the time, Hispanic male, and he would just cry during class, grief psychology. And he got up and shared why he was crying. He said, because in our culture, we're taught not to express things. He said, my grandfather died, and my grandmother is the matriarch of the family. And
Mm-hmm.
she told us right before we went to that rosary and the mass on the next day, the funeral mass, is that we will not cry. Because we are, the so and so family, and we don't show expressions like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's held it in. He said, we've held it in all these years, and now realizing that I was taught incorrectly.
Oh
So that's why a
wow.
lot of people are not open to it, is because that vulnerability, not wanting to be vulnerable. But
Mm-hmm.
if you do, again, you'll find it's a safe space, because what we don't deal with will certainly deal with us eventually.
It's like a volcano. It
It
erupts.
erupts. It erupts.
Erupts.
And
Yes.
it could be years later.
Mm-hmm.
My eldest client now is 84. I always share, just her age, and she's a black lady, and she
Mm-hmm.
started when she was 80. So can't, but never talked to anybody before. about anything. Can
Wow.
you imagine that? So
Yeah.
if you don't talk about this grief, there's a statement out there in the grief world that says grief shared is grief diminished. So the more you do talk about it, the
Mm-hmm.
more the pain will diminish.
Okay. Instead
Yeah.
of holding it in,
Instead of
because
holding it in.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, I don't know if like my son, the
Uh-huh.
funeral, when I
Yes.
told you everything that led up, and
Mm-hmm.
the guy saying all that stuff, and
That's right.
how eventually I just like, yeah,
Mm-hmm. You exploded.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
That's the
did.
great example because again, you were just holding all that in, holding
Mm-hmm.
all that in.
Yeah. So it has to come out. You
Mm-hmm.
gotta let it out. All right. Do we have any more questions before we take a break? Anything? Doc, you good?
I'm good.
You good so far? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to take a quick break and we will return. All right. Be right back.
Golden Love Connections is for mature.
Men's Talk.
The Men's Talk.
The Men's Talk. The Men's Talk.
The Men's Talk panel, embracing the men's voice.
Am I the only one that didn't know how transformative sound can be? Why are there not more people talking about how crucial audio quality is for any space? I remember the day I walked into a church, filled with hope and expectation, only to be met with echoes and muffled sounds. The pastor's voice struggled to reach the back rows and the congregation was lost in a sea of confusion. That's when it hit me. Sound is the soul of any gathering place. Every club, school, and hotel deserves clarity and connection. Yet so many buildings suffer from poor audio-visual integration. With DS Sounds, we ensure high-quality equipment is installed seamlessly before the walls even go up. We save you time and money so you can focus on what truly matters, creating a space where voices are heard and spirits are lifted. Let's transform your venue into a masterpiece of sound together. Because when sound is right, everything else falls into place.
Hi, it's Justina here, better known as Breakthrough with Jay, and I have something that I created that I really truly feel is going to help so many people.
Anxiety doesn't have to run your life anymore. Inside this journal, you won't just find prompts. You'll find clarity, tools to help you breathe again, a space to understand your thoughts, not fear them, reflections from someone who's been there and made it out stronger. It's not just about managing anxiety. It's about finding you again. Ready to take your peace back? The 60-Day Anxiety Guidance Journal is now available.
All right. We are back from break. All right. Derek, DLS, has a question that he wanted me to ask the doc.
Mm-hmm.
So that question was, how does family or the people that are around you when you're
Mm-hmm.
going through your grief, how it affects you? In a
Mm-hmm.
positive light, negative light, does that matter? Like,
It does matter because your support system is so key to how you would experience it.
mm-hmm,
Because people can either help you or hurt you. And some of the times when people hurt you or say things that they should not say, some of them, I'm going to say, most oftentimes, most people don't realize what they're saying.
they don't.
They don't, but it is. So a lot of the things that will harm a person in grief, or it's not helpful
Mhm.
to ask them what's wrong. Like you just said, that it had only been a year. The person asked what's wrong, or they're in a better place saying cliches like that. Or if you do what is called spiritual bypassing, you just give them scripture. A lot of people, especially people of faith, they say, "I know the scripture. I don't want a scripture right now.
Right.
I'm hurting." And not being present for the person, that can be harmful. And something else I've seen that has really um, impacted a lot of people in
Mhm.
grief is when people avoid them because they don't know what to say.
Ooh,
You're the mom, you're the person where your son died, and I don't know what to say to you. And so, since I don't know what to say to you, I'm going to avoid you.
that happened to me.
See, that happened to
I mean,
you.
it was radio silence. Like, I was bum rushed, when it first happened.
Absolutely.
Like I said, some people had unfriended me on Facebook, and I'm getting
Wow.
friend requests and all this stuff. And I'm just like, really?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just went from nothing, and then you're just left there. You're just like, okay, what's going on?
That's right, because again, that healing takes place in community. And so it's not uncommon for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may have heard it said like this around the funeral time,
Mm-hmm.
all of that right after the death. People are blowing your phone up. People are bringing you chicken. If you're in the Black community, they're going to bring you casseroles. If you're in the European community,
It's
they're going to bring
true.
you tortillas. If you're in the Hispanic culture, no, they're going to bring you chicken.
Exactly.
But after that funeral, guess what? Like you said, crickets, radio silence, the phone call stopped. One thing that I can appreciate when I went through the grief journey from my divorce, it was one 80-year-old lady that would call me every Sunday evening. Actually, she would text me every Sunday. How are you doing? She did that for a solid year. A solid year. So people keeping in contact with you, whether they call or text or just stop by. That's important. After the funeral, that's when you really need them.
That's when you need.
That's
them.
when you really need that support, is after that. So when you do lose friends, and it's not uncommon, relationships change because grief changes who you are. You're not the same person after you go through a significant loss. So some people lose relationships. So guess what? You got to grieve that too.
And that's like grief on top
It's
of
grief. It's compounded grief.
So how do you even, like, you're already like, okay, I've lost this loved one. I'm trying to find my new normal. I'm losing my friends. My life is just like, how do you
deal with that? That's a great question. It would be wonderful if grief was orderly. It's not. Grief is not linear, meaning we go from A to B all the way to Z. No, grief is not like that, and your healing experience is not like that as well. So when it comes to grief, every loss demands a response. Every one of them. What does that mean? That you will have to grieve and mourn every loss, but you're going to do them when it pops up. So, for example, it was your son who died, and then maybe a friendship ended too. So, what's today? Sunday afternoon. Right now, I'm thinking about my son, but around about 5 o'clock, your friendship probably pop up. Man, I really miss him. Or, what happened? What happened? Then you're going to grieve and mourn that. So, you have to do it all at the same time, which makes grief complex.
very
Very complex. So, those are some of the things that would not be so helpful. Now, what you can do for people is just to be present. And that present a lot of times doesn't mean you're physically present. If you are physically present, you don't always have to talk. So you want to follow the person's lead. If they want to talk, talk. If they don't want to talk, just sit and be present. I had one guy who shared a story when his wife died. He said the best gift that he received was when two deacons came from his church and they sat on the couch, one on either side of him. And he said it was complete silence for a solid hour.
but just having them there, maybe
Having them there.
and that's huge, and that's what you need.
That's what you need. Now, that would be problematic for a lot of us because we can't be quiet. We have to talk. But you can help a person just by your presence. You can help a person just by listening. You can help them by running errands for them, if they will allow you to. One of the new things now that we live in this world of technology and stuff, you can send them groceries.
Yes.
One lady calls them grief groceries. You can send them grief groceries. My friend did that for my sister earlier this year when her husband died. And that made my sister's day. She's talking about things and the food. She said, I really appreciate
It makes
the
a
fact.
difference because
Yes.
during that time, you don't want to cook.
You don't wanna
go
cook.
to the you for me, I just wanted to avoid people.
Absolutely.
But I still had to go to work because I'm a hairstylist and show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but aside of that, I could go and I could put my game face on. But just having someone do groceries, cook, bring things, or like you said, just a simple. I just want to know how you're doing.
Yes. Simple like that. Because and the thing is, a person in grief, you have to find your tribe.
Yes.
Because it's a lot of times not the people that you expect.
No.
Because the people that's closest to you could be your family, your friends. A lot of times they don't have the capacity to walk with you on this journey.
They do not.
They think they do, but a lot of them don't.
Is it because the connection is so familiar?
Yes. And it's also because a lot of times it's uncomfortable for them.
Okay.
To tap into that, because a lot of times many of us don't even allow ourselves to feel the grief, to acknowledge it. So it's uncomfortable. So they say, no, I can't do that. I don't know how to support you in that space.
Okay. And for them, And if that is the case, is it wise for them just to say that?
Why?
Hey,
Yes.
just put it out there. Hey,
Just
I
put it
can't
out there.
support you, but I
Mhm.
love you. I'm,
That's right.
right.
This is hard for me.
Mhm.
I wish I could support you the way. Yeah, just put it out there, and be okay with that. I explain grief like it's a bus you're on. After you go through a major loss, you're driving this bus on a school bus. You have the capacity to carry many people, more than you have in a normal car. But what does the bus do? It stops. So you're going to come to a bus stop and you're going to let some people off. You're going to drive along in life, come to another bus stop. You're going to let some people on because you're going to meet new people. I know you've met some new people in grief. You have that you connect with better than you did with people that, had been friends with for years.
Yeah. I want to hit on, I met it was a client, I think it was her mom,
Mhm.
and I started doing her hair, and I told her, what happened or whatnot. And every day since then, she sends me a Bible scripture every
Absolutely.
day. Like, I mean, 7 days a week. I know her name is
Mhm.
Miss Rebecca. I don't know if she's on Facebook or whatnot, but
Wow.
that just means so much to me. And I look forward to that every day.
See?
So little things like that are huge.
That's right. And it helps the grieving person realize that somebody else is recognizing my grief.
Yeah.
David Kessler, he's one of the other leading grief experts out there, and he teaches that grief needs to be witnessed. It must be witnessed. So that's why we need company, at least one somebody to say, okay, I see you in your grief. I'm acknowledging your pain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We did have another question from Miss Paula.
Sure.
It says, how do you as a professional doctor/therapist approach pastors who work with you in the church? Some get uneasy, I think. Oh, that's where that religion and the
Oh yes, Miss Paulette, honey, call me afterwards. We need to talk, honey.
Yes.
Because that is something that we see a changing of the guards is happening, and it's been happening since the pandemic. Because when the pandemic came, it brought a lot of awareness to the forefront. It showed us that we had a lot of deficits in our lives, such as in our judicial system that was during the George Floyd time and all those killings. So we saw some deficits there. We saw deficits in our school systems to where our children were not getting the proper education they needed. And then we saw deficits in the church, Paulette. So pastors recognize that, whoa, we as people of faith are not where we thought we were spiritually, because the church was struggling and still struggling. They're doing much better, but this is why now more pastors are open to bereavement ministries, mental health ministries.
So it was not like that before.
No, it was not like that.
It was kind of shunned or something.
It was shunned. People, they did mainly that spiritual bypassing. We just gonna pray about it, honey, and just move on. Just pray about it and not address the emotions.
Or what about this was God's will? Or I've heard that quite a bit, and I just kind of
those cliches. That's not helpful.
It's not.
It is not helpful at all. Yes, God picked rose from the garden. I had one lady who is a minister, and it was a grandmother who died. She said, "Well, I wish he would have picked another rose. I want mine." Yeah. So those kinds of things are not helpful to people. But Paulette, it is something that is on the rise now. We need to address, and so you want to reach out to those pastors who are open to it. More are open now than they were 5 years ago, but they're out there. This is why we hear a lot more teaching in churches about mental health.
Oh, yes.
Mental health and bereavement, because it's here. It's been there all along, but the awareness of it is here, and we have to address it.
Yes. How does grief affect mental health? Can we talk about that?
Yes, because when we hear mental health, most of us hear mental illness. Those are not the same. Your mental health deals with your ability to deal with your well-being, your social well-being, your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, how you get along with other people. You probably have heard of people who will say, I don't like this friend group. They talk too much, or they talk about me. I don't know. They don't, and then you move to another friend group, or even a church or a job.
Yes.
It's always someone else versus you. Well, you might want to look at yourself, because you're the common denominator there. That means there's some poor mental health management going on there, not addressing their feelings and their thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
So mental illness is something that is diagnosed from a doctor, where there's clinical support there, where you have clinical depression, or you have anxiety, clinical anxiety, and all of that.
Mhm.
So grief can impact your mental health because it impacts your mind
Mhm.
and your brain. There is something called grief brain. The moment that you heard about the death or the loss or whatever it is, because grief is not about death only,
Mhm.
it's about loss, it impacts your brain and your whole body.
Mhm.
Grief is a whole body experience. This is why we must do the work to address our mental health.
Mhm.
So if we don't do that, it can cause us to have some challenges in our thinking and our management of life.
Mhm.
Yes, if we don't deal with that grief, it can affect that mental health.
Because I feel like with me, it was once at one point when it first happened, I wasn't eating.
Right.
Except my feel like my whole life was just, man, it just completely shattered in front of me, and just trying to find that new normal, as you say,
Mhm.
it's a new normal. I love that phrase
Yes.
that just finding that. And
And the key word you say, you got to find it, because it
yes,
doesn't just happen.
no,
I love what my therapist shared with me years ago, and my coach too, is that we have to participate in our own healing. I wish, all of you all are there online.
Mhm.
Those of you who will watch the replay, I wish I could just open up your hearts and scoop out the pain of grief. It
Mhm.
doesn't work like that. All of us have to do the work. Me, none of us are exempt. Pastors,
Mhm.
preachers, counselors, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone had to work through their grief process.
That is true. Don't
Mhm.
avoid it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's one story or experience that has stayed with you over the years that stands out? Like, what's
One is because it speaks to men. Is I call him my poster boy, Mr. Flores, and his family gave me permission to share his story. He has since died. He died earlier this year at age 92. I met him when he was 89, when his wife died. So he's 89-year-old Hispanic male. This was right before the world shut down for the pandemic, and he was coming to grief support group. I was having it, and that was also during a time before the pandemic. Most African American funeral homes were not open to grief support. No, I
really?
was all in the Caucasian funeral
I'm
homes. Yeah.
surprised.
Oh, we were not as open.
And can I say this real quick
Absolutely.
while it's fresh on my brain? Would you say during the pandemic that was almost because everything shut down
Yes.
and people, I know the divorce rate
Went
went
up.
up,
Mhm.
like so many things. So would you say those were kind of like grief moments or
Absolutely, it was. We were
loss? Or,
grieving as a world,
yeah.
as a nation,
Mm-hmm.
because we were all secluded in our individual spaces. You're right. The divorce research shows that the divorce rate went up because whatever is not dealt with when you're in grief is going to bring it to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
So the pandemic was like a pressure cooker.
It
It was a
was.
pressure cooker. And so if you were already struggling in your marriage, the pandemic came and put pressure on that. And that's why a lot of people ended up in divorce. The child abuse rate, it increased because parents were already struggling in parenting. And so when the pandemic came, we're all quarantined and it put pressure. So yes, grieving. I was quarantined by myself, just me and my two dogs. I was grieving physical touch. Had not been touched with a hug or anything like that. So yes, it brought grief to the forefront.
It did.
It brought
It
grief to the
really did. I
forefront.
just wanted to hit on that while I was fresh on my brain.
Absolutely,
But
no
finish your
problems at
story
all.
about.
So Mr. Flores, again, met him just a year before the world shut down. So the Hispanic culture, as I mentioned earlier, is just like ours. They don't talk about things. So he would sit in group and he'd want to say something, and he'd go to say his wife's name. Tears would come down, and he would shut it down. He wouldn't talk. He said, "I don't want to talk." I said, "Okay, cool. You don't have to talk." So he missed group for about 2 weeks, and then he came back because at that time I was doing groups in 6 or 7 weeks series. And so he missed a couple of weeks. He came back, and I said, "Miss Flores, where you been? We missed you." He said, "Young lady, I was in the hospital." He said, "I'm 89 years old, and I don't know if you can teach this old dog new tricks, but I'm going to do my part to learn what you're teaching here." Is because he said I was in the hospital because he went to get up one day on his walker to walk, and he couldn't walk. And he slid to the floor, laid on the floor till his daughter came home, went to the hospital, They ran a battery of tests. All the tests came back fine, negative. Nothing's wrong. And thankfully, he had a great doctor, compassionate doctor. Doctor pulled the chair up to him and he said, the doctor asked, what's going on in your life? And so he gave the default answer, like most of us, nothing. I'm good. And he said, no, your body is telling me something's going on. And the very first question he asked him, has someone died? And he said, yes, my wife of 62 years. He didn't know how to live without her.
At all.
And
That was like half
his absolutely, that was his whole life.
Yeah.
And so the doctor shared that he was dealing with a real diagnosis called broken heart syndrome.
So that is true.
That is true. A person can die from a broken heart. Now, I just taught you that grief is internal. It's an emotional response. So when you don't get it out, where is all of that pain staying? It's staying in here. So that's how, when you hear someone say, oh, they grieve themselves to death, that's how, because they're keeping it inside. So his grief that he kept on the inside caused him to become temporarily paralyzed. And so he started coming back to group, and then his family said, can you come do some visits with him one-on-one? So I would go to his home on the north side of Fort Worth. We do one-on-one visits, and come to find out, remember I shared with you, if you have a current loss, if there's anything underneath there that you hadn't dealt with, it's going to come. So he had to deal with, he said he never dealt with the death of his sister, and they were kids. This man was 89 years old when his sister died. He was holding guilt for over 70 years.
So that was grief on top of
There was
grief.
compounded grief. And so he started processing his grief and again lived several more years.
Wow.
So that's the story I always want to share, especially with men, because culturally men are taught not to express,
not to show emotion,
when the truth is men are more emotional than we are as women.
But wouldn't you say, though, it's kind of because as kids, you know, we tell them, you know,
suck
don't cry, suck it up, you know,
be a man.
You're a man. And then now we want them to show emotion,
and it doesn't work that way.
You know?
Because one of the challenges I find working with people is that we have to unlearn those beliefs that we were taught. We have to unlearn that before they can even receive the tools that I'm teaching.
Wow. And also the other one, you know, sweep everything under the rug. Like what happens in this house
stays in this house.
Like we don't talk about it. You know, it's private. You don't. You
That's
know.
right. But the pandemic again, it caused us to realize, although we were trying to keep it in the house, it started oozing out under the door. Because we see it in your behavior. We see it on your Facebook or social media posts. All of that, like
even on social media, you can.
Yeah. Because your speech will betray you. It's what people will say. I said, they're stuck in pain. I'll say, I wonder who hurt them.
And you can kind of tell.
You can tell
because people you wear it even though you don't think so.
That's right. You wear it even though you don't realize it's there. And so it's now people are more aware again since the pandemic, like, because most people think grief is expressed only through sadness. Anger is the top thing after sadness, anger. So there are a lot of angry people. I say, there's some grief going on there.
What would be some examples of that? Like
the anger? One case in point is a classmate who is like a brother, and he was also a spiritual son. He just died last year. He was a foster kid, and I didn't know it in high school. We got reconnected after high school years later. He ended up joining the church, you know, when I was married to a pastor's wife. And so he shared his story, and I ended up interviewing him too about Mother's Day and Father's Day, what that was like to him. But yeah, he was very angry. And I used to say, when I found out he was a foster kid, I said, you got a lot of anger. I said, you're in grief. He said, no, I'm not. Nobody died. I said, yeah, but the idea of having a family died. You're angry because nobody adopted you. You're angry because your parents gave you up. That's grief. And he finally realized it later in life and was able to process that. But yeah, that's the example I always like to give with that, a foster kid. Even with me having anger, I've been in this industry for 35 years of when I say death care industry, started out as a mortician, but I wasn't applying the information. I was telling people how to, you know, help themselves, but I was not doing it because remember, we weren't taught to do that. I swept it under the rug like everybody else. So my grief came to the surface through a divorce.
Oh,
It was a
okay.
divorce,
Which is a huge grief.
yes, it is. I mean, it's more painful than the death of someone. And the reason it is, even as painful as it was to bury your son, the divorce is just as painful because the person is alive, walking around a lot of times, not understanding the impact that they're having on another person's life. But yeah, going through that divorce is what opened my eyes to see that you're not dealing with your grief in a healthy way.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. I think my son passing away, because all my stuff kind of happened
Around the same time.
I swear it always happens like that. Like
Mhm.
everything at one time.
Yes.
Him passing away, I went through a divorce,
Mm-hmm.
the salon,
That's
all
right.
the stuff. And remember, I was just like, I just can't do this.
All these multiple losses.
It was multiple.
Cumulative.
Yes. So.
And so there are different types of grief. So a person like you, with all of those losses, but most people didn't realize it or know it. They just knew about Jimmy.
They did. And also too, not to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem.
The guy at the funeral thing, that really, I still sometimes think about that and just get kind of stirred up.
Oh yeah, that's the guy that said the words.
Yes,
absolutely.
Because I didn't even have peace in burying my son.
Yep.
And that just really
That's right. And I'm glad you said, even though how many years it's been since Jimmy?
It was 2021.
It was 2021. Here we are in 2025. You said I still get stirred up about that because again, there's psychological healing and then there's physical healing. Okay. When it's psychological healing, again, because our mind and our brain, and the mind is that spiritual part, that's church lingo, but the brain is physical lingo. And so when we have trauma like that, it impacts the brain. And it also impacts the mind and it stays there. This is why it's healthy to do this kind of work because the triggers will happen. Yes. The triggers will happen as you do the work to process your hurt and pain. Then you'll respond differently. You won't respond with the fight, but you'll say, okay, I'm feeling this. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. But then you'll process it and it'll pass because we can't extract the memory from our brain. No. It's there. No. Forever, even if you don't remember it. And if you don't remember it, it's in that subconscious part or unconscious part.
Some of it I do, but I literally had an out of body experience.
Yeah.
People later told me, things that I said or whatnot. And, yeah. I had a moment.
Yes. Understandable.
But I have forgiven myself.
There you go. And
work with me.
Your interview that we did.
Oh my
God.
Remember I thought I lost it.
You thought you lost it.
I was like, no.
That's right.
But that was so healing.
It was.
I thank you for that because that gave me because I didn't have closure. And I needed that closure.
That's right.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
Okay. So let's see. Here's one. How do you take care of yourself while holding a space for others?
That's good. I get asked that question a lot. Here's the thing with me. My therapist had helped. I have a therapist, first of all. I think every person should have someone that they answer to. Okay. Every pastor needs a pastor. Every counselor needs a counselor. Whatever it is that you do, you need to have someone over you that can pour into you. And so I have, and I started during the pandemic. I started actually when the divorce happened. That was 2012, but then I stopped. I stopped going. I had achieved a level of healing to where I could manage my emotions. And then the pandemic came and I had 9 losses. I had 6 loved ones who died of COVID in the hospital alone. 2 family members died of cancer. And then I had a longtime friendship to end. And so, and I was working 7 days a week during the pandemic. I was working a full-time job and the business. And my own armor bearer, she called me to the carpet. She said, if you don't call a therapist, I'm going to tell everybody that you're not doing what you teach.
She called you out.
She called me out. She
Okay.
called me out.
But
I'm
we
like,
all need that person.
we need that person.
We all need that person.
We need that person. So I've been working with my psychotherapist because again, he deals with the psyche, and that's what I needed. So I have a psychotherapist, and I've learned a whole lot. One of the main things that I've learned, that I've been around death and dying for years, and it's impacted me, and I didn't understand it to the extent that it has. So I have a therapist. I take breaks when I need them. I cancel or reschedule clients. I've had to call you a couple of times, say, hey, I'm not able to make it, such and such, can we reschedule? I set my boundaries.
Good.
I set my boundaries. I do what is called mind dumping, which is journaling. I get out of my mind and I put it on paper. And I do walking, and I do shaking of the body. The shaking, things like that. It feels funny, feels silly, but when you're shaking or jumping up and down, that helps to reset your nervous system.
And see, I feel like working out, like going to Zumba.
Yes, that's
things
very
like
good.
that. It helps me.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
It is very, very good. Yes, because it helps your nervous system.
Self-care.
Self-care is vital. It is vital.
Yes, I like that. All right, we're going to have one more question.
Okay.
So let's go to, I'm going to jump down to, let's end with, what gives you hope these days?
As it relates to other people, I am so hopeful because now more people are open to getting the help that they need.
Okay.
Because as I mentioned earlier at the top of the interview, that I really, what got me into this space is I really like to help people, because I don't like to see people hurt, especially when it comes to grief. But I am so hopeful because of all of the resources that are available, and that people are now reaching out to them to get the help that they need. And I'm hopeful, even in my own life, that I continue to do this work as well. Because as you move through grief and the healing process, whatever you do to attain that level of management, you got to continue to do that. You got to continue to do that. So I'm hopeful that we have all these resources, and now people are getting the help that they need.
Likewise. Miss Paulette, she has the last question.
Paulette, I'm loving you, girl.
She is on it. I love it. She said, this has been good. What is the difference between therapists and counselors when seeking help? Should you switch them up at times?
Great question. It's the level of skill. A therapist can go deeper than a counselor, and they are talking about different types of modalities and different theories that they use. And then a psychotherapist, who is what I have, again, that deals more with the psyche and the mind. So that's a great question. A counselor, like I'm a grief counselor. But then some people, are therapists and behavioral therapists, those kinds of things. Some people need trauma-informed therapists as well. And then the psychotherapist kind of takes it a notch up from that, where you just really going deeper, because you got to get to the root of a thing. One of the things my pastor talked about today, again, he said that we have to get to the root of things. We do. And one lady said that about me. She said, I don't want to come back. I said, okay, but can you tell me why? She said, you're a poker. And I didn't know what that meant.
I
said, a poker, P-O-K. I'm a poker? Can you tell me? She said, you poke until you get to the root. I said, oh, well, I'm a poker.
Get those weeds out.
You got to get those weeds out, because what's the point of coming if we're not going to address the hard stuff?
Yeah, you're just going through the motions.
You're just going through the motions, wasting your money, your time, all of that.
That is so true. That is so true. Do we have any more questions from Miss Paulette? That's it. Awesome. Well, Doctor, I just thank you for coming and taking time out of your day to come and sit and talk and just, answer questions.
Absolutely.
Greatly appreciate you. Again, my Shiro. I just love you so much. I tell y'all what, I don't care if I don't do anything else. Talk about the self-care.
That's
Once a month, I do not miss my appointment.
Baby.
I do not.
She doesn't.
And it has truly, y'all are seeing the fruits of
that's right.
Me, seeing her. So I would definitely recommend, counseling, therapy, grief counseling, to anyone dealing with grief, matters of the heart.
Yep.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
when in grief, there is life after loss. It's just a different one.
Yes.
It's just different. The lady that both of us sitting up here, I am so different. And I actually love this girl. She was actually hiding in there the whole time. Before my grief, never would I have worn two different color earrings in one time. Check me out, my Christmas colors. Never would I've done that. Never. My nails got all this stuff on them. Never would have done that. But it's a different life. So as you embrace that, that's just my encouragement. It is life. You can love again, you can live, you can laugh, you can do all those things, but you got to go through the process of dealing with the pain before you get to that process.
That is true. That is true. DLS. Yes, give your contact information, Dr. Tonya.
Sure. You can reach me. My office number is 817-476-0325. But you can go to my website. It's drtonyacunningham.com. I offer 15-minute discovery calls, which is a consultation. And I do mean 15 minutes. You know, some people try to get a session out of it. I'm like, this is not a session. It's 15 minutes. We can talk. I can help you identify what it is that you need to process through as it relates to your grief. We can find out if we're a good fit together. If we're not, hey, I have colleagues that I'm going to refer you to. I always encourage people, if you have EAP, Employee Assistance Program benefits through your insurance, use them. Just vet out the person and make sure there's a good fit. And follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook as well as Instagram.
All right. Excellent. It has been wonderful. Another great episode of A Mother's Heart podcast. Thank you for joining us. We are also, if you want to be a sponsor for A Mother's Heart, please let us know. We would love to have you. Also, we're going to be having merch coming up next year, journals, hats. Stay tuned for that. And what else did I forget, DLS? That's good. All right. So we're out. Thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful, blessed day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.